Welcome to Dank Reviews. I am your host, Skylar Hillman. Thank you so much for tuning in to this very first video of mine of this new channel. I'm hoping that this will be a success, and I'm hoping that I could create some wonderful content, some intriguing and interesting content for you all. The reason why I'm starting this channel is that I just really love the camaraderie surrounding discussing movies and TV with others. So today I'm going to review A Quiet Place 2 movie spoiler review and discussion. So if you have not seen this film, I highly recommend that you pause this video, shelve it, come back after you see both installments. Nevertheless, I wanted to share a couple thoughts with you before we review and discuss this film. First, I just want to give you a little bit of context about my life with regards to returning to the theaters. I was actually fairly fortunate to return to the theaters about a month or so ago. I went to go see Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters with my best friend and his family. But prior to that, the last time I was in theaters was back in September when Tenet came out. And a little before that, I don't remember the last time I was in theaters. Maybe it was... I can't recall, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, just give you a little bit of context. I hope everyone is doing fairly well. If you're able to go to the movie theaters again to see this movie, A Quiet Place 2, I highly recommend that you do so. Phenomenal movie. Absolutely loved it. And one other thing I wanted to touch bases on before we get into this movie, the spoiler discussion, is Fantastic Four fan casting and interview questions, because as much as I would love to see Emily Blunt play Sue Storm and John Krasinski play Reed Richards, I feel like you can tell, not necessarily with John, but Emily, you can tell with Emily Blunt that she's fairly exasperated and exhausted from receiving this question ad nauseum, right? You see the most recent interview where she was asked about Fantastic Four, and she says, look, you're like the third interviewer to ask me about this. And then before that, she was on Howard Stern's show discussing a variety of different things, especially A Quiet Place 2, and then he asks her about Fantastic Four, and then you can just tell she's not having it. Listen, guys, asking these questions to these two fantastic performers is not going to necessarily make Fantastic Four casting happen with these two. It's not going to do anything. As much as I would love to see it, and I hope it does happen, I'm a little bit skeptical just because of Emily Blunt's reaction. John Krasinski seems to be a little bit more forgiving with these questions. But yeah, just nevertheless, I just thought I would share with you guys. Please tone it down just a little bit with the Fantastic Four fan casting. I understand it. Nevertheless, I love Marvel. I love the MCU just as much as the next person. But yeah, let's dive into A Quiet Place 2, the sequel to the first one. I wanted to start off by talking about the setting of this world that Krasinski and the others involved with this film created. The mystery, the intrigue. They give you a little bit, but not too much, to keep you wondering, oh, what's out, what's lurking in the outside world? How are others affected? What was the military response? How did the world governments respond to this alien invasion? Where do these monsters come from? Are they able to communicate, or are they just non-sentient? I don't know if that's the appropriate term, but non-rational creatures who are just evolutionarily wired to react negatively to sound. This is the thing that I really love about this franchise, is the mystery and the intrigue, just because that is right up my alley, the adventure involved there. Both of these installments, like I said, leave you with all of that speculation. We are given a little bit more with that in the second film, as Emmett and Regan adventure to an island to broadcast that weaponizing sound that they discovered in the first one with regards to the hearing device that Regan has. But they don't give you too much. Which I love, because they can keep building upon with further installments and spin-offs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they announce not too long ago that they were developing a spin-off series? Like I said, there's just so much wonder with this franchise, and I absolutely love it. Next up, I want to discuss the characters more in depth, and then I will close with a little bit of discussion about the plot and give you my overall score based on the plot, the characters, and let's see, what else am I going to do? The plot score, the total character score, and the suspense thriller score. I will give you that at the end. And let's continue by talking about the characters of this film. In the first one, the main protagonist is portrayed by John Krasinski, Jim Halpert himself, Lee Abbott. As we know, the father of the family sacrificed himself in the first installment, but the character returns in a short 10 to 15 minute prequel section of the film that shows us the events leading up to the alien apocalypse for the family from their perspective. We see them at the baseball game for their son, and we see the meteorites crashing on Earth. So we get a little bit of an origin context for this world with regards to these monsters. And I have to say, I thought Krasinski reprising his role for a minor portion of this film was handled well, and just highlights how much emphasis on family Krasinski as a director places on this film, because the whole theme is about family and what you would do for your loved ones. Absolutely love that. Krasinski does a very good job at portraying Lee Abbott in both installments. We have Evelyn Abbott, the mother of the Abbott family, played by none other than Emily Blunt, a wonderful British actress. She is great. She has a smaller but still substantial role in this movie. Her character as a mother is courageous and shows us how mothers go above and beyond in protecting their children to the point of risking their lives. As we see the father sacrifice himself for his children in the first one. So it just shows us what parents would do for their children. Speaking of this character, she is actually part of one of my favorite shots of the film. There's this one scene in the movie where she distracts the monster from attacking her son Marcus and the baby as she's returning from getting the oxygen tank that she had to leave temporarily for to go get. And we see her distract the monster by first setting it on fire and then releasing water from a ceiling pipe that makes a lot of noise so that she can quietly step back and retreat from the monster to go to her son. But you see where she sets the monster on fire, and then the camera angle is directed towards her, and you see how she has this like courageous look on her face, and she finally shoots the monster with her revolver. I just really love that shot. I just thought it was well executed. Next up, we have Emmett, played by Cillian Murphy. This character actually had me a little bit concerned when I first saw him in the trailer, because it is obvious that from the get-go that the purpose of having this character played by Cillian Murphy is to fill those shoes of Lee Abbott, to have that father-like, that male-dominant role in the film, that father-like protagonist. It was obvious that he was there to continue that larger thematic role. And I was very skeptical about that, because obviously you're talking about filling the shoes of Lee Abbott, played by John Krasinski. So I was very skeptical about that. Ironically, though, Emmett, played by Cillian Murphy, ends up being my favorite character in this entire film. And the reason for that is I found him to be more relatable than the other characters. Not that the other characters are not relatable. I just found Emmett to be slightly more relatable, because when he first comes into contact with the Abbott family after they flee from the monster that he helps save them from, he says to them, "Look, I can't help you. Please leave tomorrow." And you see that he's a little reluctant in helping this family, but obviously he eventually comes around and helps. But I feel like if this A Quiet Place world were to happen in real life, more people who are smart and who are going to survive are going to act more like Emmett, or at least initially, or have some sort of similarities to his character, at least temporarily or off and on. So yeah, I just found his character to be more relatable, and I really love how he interacts a lot with Regan throughout this film. Both Emmett and Regan adventure to the dock to get onto a boat to go to the island to broadcast a signal because they initially hear the song. I forget the song off of the top of my head. Oh, Beyond the Sea or something like that. Which was really clever of Regan. She discovered, wait a second, Beyond the Sea. It's referencing this island because these people on this island are safe from the monsters because the monsters cannot swim. So I really loved how Emmett and Regan are the two leads of this film, and we get to see their interactions between the two. And one of my favorite parts of their interaction, the chemistry between these two characters, is that you see how Emmett is initially frustrated at the circumstance, not with Regan the character, but with the circumstance that he's initially not able to communicate with her. And you see, oh no, I can't speak to her, I can't communicate with her, she's deaf, like what do I do? But she reassures him, saying, hey, just slowly enunciate your words carefully and slowly, and then I could read your lips and read your body language to decipher what you are saying, what you're trying to communicate towards me. And I just really loved that scene in all. Next up, we have Marcus Abbott. I also love this character as well. The most heart-wrenching. He has the most heart-wrenching scenes, in my opinion, than any other character, because the first major heart-wrenching scene that we see in this film is when Marcus steps in the bear trap, and you know instantly that when he steps in the bear trap he's gonna scream in agony, because any human being is gonna do that if they step in a bear trap, and you know instantly that the monster is gonna start approaching them. But fortunately they kill the monster, but then killing that monster involves creating a lot of noise, which will then send off another monster, and so on and so forth. But fortunately, Emmett saves the family. But like I said, Marcus has the most heart-wrenching scenes in this entire movie, in my opinion. Not only with the bear trap, but there's also this one scene where Evelyn has to leave Marcus and the baby behind to go get an oxygen tank, because they're using an oxygen tank for the baby to keep him in a little box so that that baby doesn't make a lot of noise to attract the monsters. And we see this scene between Marcus and Evelyn where Marcus is like, hey, please don't leave, I'm scared, I don't know what to do even though you told me. And she just, as a mother, Evelyn reassures him, saying, hey, I'm only going to be gone for a couple of hours, you got this, you have everything that you need. And I just really love that scene because, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus is a preteen in this film, preteen or maybe early teen, and we see how distraught he is. And so he has the most heart-wrenching, sad scenes, in my opinion, in this entire film. We have Regan Abbott, the lead, or the other lead of the film next to Emmett. As an individual who is deaf, she has to be more cautious than the other characters. She adventures away from safety with Emmett to reach an island to a recording studio to broadcast her hearing aid device to hurt more monsters across the region. And like I said, I really loved her character. She was inspired by her dad, from the sacrifice of her dad, the heroism, and she takes on that mantle of her dad to try to save more and more people. And I just really loved the chemistry between her and Emmett. I really like that one scene where they're in the studio towards the end of the film, and there's the kind of echoes the scene that I'm about to mention, and sort of echoes the one scene in the first movie where Evelyn is stepping down the stairs to the basement of their farmhouse, and you see the nail and she steps at it. And so when I was first seeing this film, I saw it twice now, and so the first time through, we see that she's stepping into the studio room, Regan, and we see a cup and a bunch of other things like a cassette, and you're thinking, oh no, she's going to step on this, she's going to create a lot of noise. Oh no. Fortunately, it does not happen, and she's able to safely get into the studio. But she does make some noise when she opens the door to the recording room, and then Emmett has to step in to give her enough time to reach the recording station and all. Absolutely love this character. Next up, we have the plot. I want to talk a little bit about this before I give you my overall score about this film. Overall, I found the story to be very intriguing as it builds upon the world we see and discover in the first one, but not in an explosive manner, because typically or traditionally what has happened with sequels to a lot of original films that are very creative and original is that sequels tend to give you way too much. I feel like this sequel doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all. It gives you a little bit more. Obviously, as a sequel, that's what a sequel should do and ought to do, is to give you a little bit more of a context of the larger world and the setting of the movie. But oftentimes, sequels just go into like a whole different direction and abandons the magic of the original. This film does not do that. It lives up to the first one. And in fact, I actually like this one a little bit more just because it gives us a little bit more of context, a little bit more information about the outside world, but not too much. It doesn't give us way too much that it's like, drinking chocolate from a chocolate fountain and, just consuming way too much of it. So I really love that aspect of the film, the mystery, the intrigue, and it gives us a little bit more. We see the characters split up with Emmett and Regan traveling to the island, and we see that Marcus, Evelyn, and the baby stay behind, but there is a little bit of the film where Evelyn leaves too, so there's 3 split-ups in this film. A minor critique, though, that I have of the plot, and is this a minor critique, maybe a nitpick, is that I read the synopsis before going to see the film, and the synopsis made it seem like there was going to be another major plot device of this film, because it said something along the lines, and there are other dangers besides the monsters lurking, and we see in the trailer, Emmett says that there's other people that are not worth saving. You just have to see how they act. They don't act human-like and everything like that. And we do get that scene. We get that scene at the docks where the scavengers ambush both Emmett and Regan and all of that. So we do get that one scene, but the synopsis made it seem like that was going to play a bigger role in the film, and it only had like one scene. It was still a major scene nevertheless, but it wasn't a huge part of the plot, and so I was a little bit disappointed with that, but it's just a minor nitpick. Still, I enjoy the story and to see the characters be brave and to save their families, their loved ones, and to also try to save others. With that down, with the plot and the characters and the setting, I want to give you my overall score and final assessment of this film. My plot score, I give it an 8 out of 10, largely for the fact that I wish that there was a little bit more about the scavengers and whatnot, but it's just a minor nitpick. 8 out of 10 is still a pretty high score. Total character score, I give a 10 out of 10. And I think obviously Krasinski does this on purpose, that the most important part of this film, of these 2 films, are the characters. And I had no issue with the characters. I had any criticisms. I really loved every single character and their interaction. So my total character score is a 10 out of 10. Suspense and thriller, 9 out of 10. And that leaves us with an average score of 9 out of 10. I highly recommend that you see this film in theaters if you are able to. There is a 45-day window starting from its premiere date a few days ago. Highly recommend that you go see this. The next movie that I plan on reviewing is Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard sometime around the middle of June when I'm able to go see that. However, if enough of you in the comment section say, hey, please go to the theater to see Cruella, give us some of your thoughts, review it, I'll do that. I initially don't have any desire to go see that film just because it's not a film that I typically like to see. But it does star Emma Stone, one of my favorite actresses. So if enough of you in the comment section say, hey, Skylar, please go see this film, I will happily do that and give you my thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button and share your thoughts below. Do you think A Quiet Place 2 is going to get a sequel eventually? And thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a nice day, a great week, and God bless.